All right, so I'm going to continue on in this scene. So far, I've got my TV1 here, TV2, TV3, and I've done the outlet. So everything, and this is pretty generic, it's just in the background, so I'm not particularly worried about it too much, but it will just be there in the background. So what I have left to do is the floor planks and some trim, put in a window, and then the window, the woodwork on the window. So not that much left. So I'm going to work pretty quickly here and put in some basic things. So since I just happen to have this piece of wood here, this baseboard highlighted, I'm just going to start with that. And what I want to do is, if I look at my image reference, I just want to make some planks for the flooring, but I want to make them individual. And so I want to create this kind of pattern, a long pattern here, and then a pattern with two boards on it that I'll just kind of duplicate and move around in the scene a little bit. So I'm not going to worry about all the details of the wood grain or anything like that. I might put in some details, maybe a little imperfection here or there on individual pieces of wood. But for the most part, I'm just going to kind of make a few planks, and I'm going to make them so they only have the tops and the sides, no bottoms. We don't need to render out the bottom. This is a nice shot of the trim too. Put some nice details in here and in here if I get to that. So again, I'm always working on a time limit that I might have is that for this project, I'm gonna make sure I get the core stuff done first. The machine, the TVs and the chair. Oh, I got to do a chair, and kind of fill in those things. Those are the heavy things, and putting the floor in that won't take very long. So I'm just going to take this piece of geometry right here. I'm just going to Control D, duplicate it. I'm going to use my tool to rotate, so that's just my E key, and then I'm going to kind of bring it into my scene real quick. And that's a really long board actually. And what I might do is just make a couple of these just real quick. I'm going to go to face. I'm just going to take this back face. I'm just going to hit delete. I'm going to go back to object mode, and I'm just going to rotate it. I'm going to hit my E key, and then I'm going to rotate it around the X. I'm just going to type in -90 to get it perfectly in the scene. Then as I have this board like this, I'm going to clean up my rotations. I don't need any. I don't need that. And in my scene, oops, put my value back in there. What happens is I have my cursor set up, and then I hit my tool to move, and I put a W in the value instead. So you might see that. All right, so here's my board, and I'm just going to Control duplicate another one out of the scene. And what I can do is I'm just going to grab the vertex of this one, and I'm just going to push it in. And again, I'm using an object and world right now. Both of them would work. These other ones might change the orientation of things. Sometimes you might see that, but I'm just using the world, and I'm just going to push that in. And this is just going to become just a flooring plank. So again, as I look at my scene, I'm just looking at the sizes of the planks, and it's not too far off actually, right here. So I can just shrink this one down, and I might take this one, do the same thing. I could just scale it if I wanted to. And these are just boards, right? I'm just gonna set them kind of end to end. These are just boards in the floor. And because I want there to be little edges to capture light on there, I'm going to do what's called a bevel. I'm just going to take this top edge, and I could do this a number of ways, but the quick way for this, because I'm not really adding all that much, a quick way to add a bevel that doesn't disrupt the flow of your geometry is to just extrude the face out. So I could just extrude my face out a little bit, lift it up just a tiny little bit, and then scale it in uniformly. So I'm going to click on one of these other buttons to get this center uniform scale, and then I can just kind of scale that in. Actually, control, I'm going to hit my cyclical index, remember, and then I'm going to scale it in just a little bit, just around an edge. If I want to add a little more length to that, oops, I don't want to snap it too much, just a little bit. If I want to put more geometry in there, I can by adding an edge loop around that. I don't know how much detail I really need, just a little bit of an edge like that. And after I've done the work on that, actually, if I don't want to waste the time to do it again, I can always just duplicate this board. And since I'm working with little geometry, it's not that expensive time-wise to just duplicate something and do that, because I'm just going to offset the distance of one of these, and I can make this one short and that one long. It doesn't matter so much. It's just kind of the floor. And I just want to enter in with that the idea of these planks being in the scene. So that might be a board plank, and I might put another one up here. But once I do the initial details to one board, then I can just, what I can do is I can just duplicate it, and then I don't have to worry about, like this one, just control duplicate, move it down here. Now I have some boards to work with. So I have this floor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my shading and say wireframe on shading, so I can kind of see where I'm at. Now, I don't want to overlap these because that would give me artifacts in the lighting. And I might have to move these around a little bit. I'm going to grab these boards here. I'm going to call it floorboard. I already have the word there, so I'm just going to say floorboard. Floorboard 1. And then I'm just going to take this floorboard word, floorboard, and I'm going to hit Control C to copy that, and then I'll take this one, go up here, Control, and then just put a 2, take this one, go up here, click, hit Control V, and then put 3. So I've renamed those rather quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate these boards, move them over a little bit, and then just change them up. I might just move this one over here, move this one up here. And the thing is, I can have irregular, I don't want complete patterns. I want irregular patterns. And I'm not really looking at the flooring here as my reference. I'm just creating interesting. And what I'm probably going to do is just kind of move these around a little bit. And as I light my scene, which we haven't done any of that yet, how I move these around and add details may shift. I may want to raise one up just slightly, or just tilt it just ever so much, just to give it a feeling of boards out of alignment, and it changes the shadows on the floor and adds just interest. Like these edges might not be perfect. So that's all. Those are the little artistic things that you can do. We use the computer a lot to make our life easy, but we don't want to lose the fact that we're artists and we are creating interesting patterns and designs and that sort of thing. So I'm going to just take these and I'm going to hit Control D, duplicate all of them like so, and then I can adjust these edges however I want. I don't want the floor to always look like that, so maybe I'll take this one and I will move it down and just add something like that, or maybe I'll shift that board up. And this is up to you. This is completely up to my own judgment. And what's cool about it is I can just take this board, the vertices of this board here, and just pull it down as long as I want. Now I want to make sure that I have boards in my scene, so now I can see here's my shot. So here are the boards in my scene, and I will just continue to kind of lay them across this floor here. And what I'll do is I'll probably just take this face of this floor here, and I'll just delete that, take my boards, all my boards that will be in this group, and then I will just take these, make sure that they're under the wall, trim, and I'll fix this, the extra length here on these boards. I can maybe put that one down there like that, and then lower this below my trim here, my baseboard, something like so. And then what I'll do is I can take this whole group. I'm gonna look at my shot cam, so I need to kind of start over here. And I don't really care necessarily. I'm gonna hit Control D. I don't care where I start. I'm not trying to match. In this particular case, I'm not trying to match the patterns here of this scene. I'm just trying to do a real quick and easy floor, and then I'll make tiny little adjustments once I kind of see what it looks like in the light. Take those and move those around, and I can adjust these so the patterns don't match, and no one may not even notice the pattern, so it may not be an issue, or it may be interesting. So I'm not going to sweat the details on that right now, but what I might do is just adding these, and that will add some nice floor. If I need some extras, it doesn't looks like I need a little extra length in a few spots, maybe right here. Maybe this one needs to be a little bit longer. If I grow it, I can expand that one out a little bit, maybe move that back, and I'll just make tiny little adjustments, maybe, like I said, shifting the edge, maybe moving one down, just so they're a little bit different. Now notice that my insertion point is in the wrong space, so I can always go and center the pivot on those so I get a better control of my rotation if I start to rotate the boards. So I'm just going to ever so slightly, if I hit G, it'll center pivot, because that was the last command that I did. And then I'll just add some little interest, just little things to make this look a little bit different. And I might move a board, extend a board, all that kind of stuff. So maybe I'm just trying to avoid similar patterns. I'm going to say modify center pivot, and then I'll just call the floor in that case good. Once I light it, I might see some things I need to fix, shadows or overlapping things, but I'm trying to be careful with that. I have these gaps. I might clean these gaps up. They may become too predominant in the scene. Maybe they're too heavy. Looks like my TV isn't on the ground here, so if my TV needs to sit on the boards, may need to move that back a little bit. But I definitely want it sitting on the floor. Now if I want to add individual details like a knot in the corner, I could take one of my boards and say down here around this, maybe one that might actually draw too much attention to itself, so I may not add that. I may see what my floor looks like, because I'm still going to add that chair. So I'm gonna call that done for now. Some boards here and there that I might want to pick up, but that's a pretty easy thing to do. My trim, for my trim, if I want to go in and add a lot of details to it, I can add some edges and lift things, pull things up and out. It does make for some very interesting designs and patterns. I'm going to see what this looks like. I'll take the back face off of this, and what I might do is I might just create a little bit of lift here. So I've got an edge, I've got kind of a straight edge here, I've got an elevated spot and then another one. So what I might do is I might just drop in some edge loops in around this. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit. If I want to create like a lump or if I smooth this, if I wanted to create, I'm holding an edge, so I want to create kind of right now, I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to kind of hold the edge, then I'm going to add 1, 2, 3. So it's going to hold that a little bit, and what I want to do is I might pull out this edge. So I'm going to try that. So this edge right in the middle, so in between two, 1, 2, 3, and right here. I'm going to hold that. If I were to pull that out a little bit, they give me just this nice little elevated curve right there. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go back. Or I could extrude out this face here if I wanted to. Another way to do it would be to create kind of a profile and extrude that out too. That's another story that we could do later on. This piece of trim right there, just to clean that edge up. Not a piece of trim, but just an edge loop. An edge loop to hold that corner. Now, we're not adding too much detail on this, so and this is another thing that if I move this out, I'm just going to try to do a quick little curvature there. See, I got this little curve coming out of my geometry now. Oops, I don't want the whole loop. I just want the front one, just this one. So from here to here, and to here. We'll go into wireframe and just kind of move that around, grab that edge, and then just pull that out a little. Just to kind of get a curve. Back it off. So creates just, all I want is light and shadow, just a little bit of light and shadow in areas. Do the same thing here. On this edge. Light and shadows. So I have kind of like this little lump here. I could put in another little edge if I wanted to, or I could push this in a little bit. But just a little bit of trim detail, that's all. And then if I'm happy with that, I can work with that as long as I want, you know. I get some shadows and some light, but I'll have to adjust my outlet cover. So since the trim is the same, I'll take this and duplicate it, duplicate baseboard. I'll rotate it around Y, 90 degrees, and then I will push it against the wall behind everything. Again, the detail on this is just going to be in the corner. It's not going to be a focal point of my scene. So whether I do a 45-degree angle on this corner or if it's even going to be visible, I'm not going to worry about that at the moment, because it may be a time and energy spent on something that's completely useless, and I don't have, that would take away time for something else that I want. So I've got this piece of baseboard here, this piece of baseboard there, and my flooring now pretty quickly put in place. Now what I want to do is I'm going to drop in an edge loop to mark out the hole for my window, which will be about right here. So I'm going to go ahead, go in and insert my edge loops along this edge here, and another one close to the edge here, and then one about here, and one about here. Actually, this is a pretty big window, so for my shot, I may not need it to be that big. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at my reference here. So it's just going to go up and out of this scene. And if I look at my, if I go here, go back to my shot, yeah, as long as so I'm going to take this face that I've just created and I'm going to delete that. So now I have a hole there where the window will be, and I do have some trim that's already in place, so I may just go with some of that. It's kind of beat up. I won't be able to really add those kind of details just yet, but again, I could use a little more detail on this on the windowsill. And that'll be something I have to kind of decide how much detail am I gonna put on there. Kind of like with my baseboard. I could use a baseboard for that maybe. So I'm gonna look at this a little closer. it has some nice features. So, and this is kind of a rounded edge. So if I start with something like this, I'm going to just delete the back face of that. This is my, I'm going to call this my Windowsill Base, or my window, yeah, I already did. So it's got a nice little edge right here, which I might just do by going down to this face and extruding out this bottom face a little bit. So I just might pull that down. And then I might just take this face and hit G and pull it out. Give me kind of this little section there. If I want to round it, then I would need to add an edge loop about halfway up, and then just take that right here and pull that out just slightly. Gives me a nice little rounded form that I'll hold in place in a little bit. And then I'm looking at just kind of a straight shot there. So I'm going to take this face, I'm going to lower the whole piece of geometry down a little bit. I'm going to extrude that up a little, just a little bit. And then I'm going to extrude another one up a little bit. And then one more. So what I want to do is kind of put in a divot right there, a little dent. Just a little bit. So my dent needs to be right in this part. And I can kind of use my V tool to push that in. I'll push that in just a little bit to give it just a little shape like so. So you know I'm kind of making a profile shape here along the side. So I'm just kind of thinking what would this look like, you know, if you were to take a piece of this trim and cut it in half and look at the edge, what would that shape look like? It would be out and straight and in and out and up and around. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this face here on top and I'm going to extend that up. Just extrude that up a little bit. And this will be the actual windowsill. And I'll extrude that out. So I'll hit G and just extrude this out a little. I'll go back and put in a window. I'll put in an edge right there to kind of round that off. And then I'll add an insert edge loop right here. Lower it down a little bit, it looks like. Bring that in. So I want that to be kind of in the middle of that. And I'm going to take this edge, just lift it. Take this edge here, and just pull it out, because then that'll give me this round. And then what I want to do is I just want to lock these edges in with some insert edges. So I'm going to insert edge loop. Put my tool up. Hold that edge. Hold this edge. It should give me a nice rounded shape. See how I have those details? I'm going to harden this edge here. So I'm going to pop in a little extra right along there. If I want to sharpen this edge, I'll bring this out. Then I get this really nice edged area. And might do the same thing right here, just pop in a little more support to kind of round that out. If I want this to be square, I might put in another little edge to harden that edge just right about there. Got some faces in the back that I don't want. So these faces get created when I extrude, so you don't need this because it's going to be against the wall. And there's no sense in trying to calculate how it should be rendered when it's all said and done. So here's my basic. I'm going to shade this and look at that from this side. Yeah, make sure I've got, I'm going to hit delete. And then I've got this form, so here's my windowsill. It's got some nice edges on it. Actually, I want to sharpen this edge. I want those to be sharp. And sharpen this edge. Sharpen this edge. Because I want it to be a nice tight form. So I have these nice tight shapes. Because I need light to hit that. I'll go into object mode, turn off my, there's a windowsill that doesn't look too bad with some details. I could do the same thing for this. It's kind of the opposite. This is kind of like instead of going in, it goes out. And again, you could make your own windowsill however you want. When you end up doing this for your own projects, I could change, don't have to do the exact same thing that's in the picture. And it seems like it might be a little low, but might have strayed off my reference a little too much, made the window too low, or I should raise it up. I'm going to use the top of this, and the top of this is kind of the bottom of this, and the top of that is my guide, which is what I think I was doing in the beginning. So I'm not gonna worry too much about that. I can have a little bit of play. So I'm just gonna put that in the scene right about there. That doesn't look too bad. And then on the sides, I can do kind of the same thing. Oops. On this windowsill. But I really need to make that chair. But this has some beautiful lines in it too. So I'll probably follow that very same process, just adding a little bit of details over here to make that. But what I want to do for your demonstration is I'm going to rough out this little chair here. And we have a couple parts. And I'm going to use a cylinder for most of this here. And see if I can make a decent little spindle. All right. So I'm going to save my scene if you haven't already done so. Make sure you're saving your scenes quite a lot. I'm going to create a polygonal cube. And this is going to be my chair seat. And what I'm going to do is, I'm just thinking about the shape. It's rounded in the back, but usually a chair has those little, kind of like these little lobes in it for the legs. So I'm kind of thinking about that in my mind. And I'm just going to scale it down a little bit. Again, I know it's going to be rounded. So 3 points, one, beginning, middle, and end, that would make it round, but then I have like another lobe here. So this is going to take a little bit of geometry to kind of shape. I'm going to try to just do it with a few insert edge loops. So right down the middle here. And then that would give me the ability to just basically round the back, right? I can round the back of the chair, which is this. But then I have extra geometry for the feet and the legs, or sorry, the leg, you know, where your thighs kind of go down. So I need to have a couple extra points, which will add tension to my geometry in the back, which I don't want so much. But I'm going to just have to shape it a little bit. So this gives me a little bit, but I'm going to need, now I put those right in the middle. So I may need to move those over just a little bit. And I'm just kind of looking at this. And I should use a chair reference, but I'm going to try to get as much as I can out of a little bit of geometry as possible. So I might push that in a little. And then push in this area for the thighs. Maybe just this area for the thighs, just a little. too much, I'm going to insert an edge loop around the top for that nice sharper edge. And then back off some of these because that's just too much. I just want the initial shape of it, not so much like a frog pattern or something. Bring these out. And here's a good reason why you should look at a reference, because what I think and what's reality isn't always the same, and I can spend a lot of time doing something. So this happens a lot. You think, oh, I'm modeling, and I know exactly what a wooden chair looks like, you know, the seat. So a lot of times I need to look at a reference, and that's why we do our reference work. So sometimes just kind of, maybe I should just leave it rounded like that. Just maybe that, see my mind and my imagination may, see they don't have that. My imagination may have been getting the best, may have gotten the best of me, and I don't need to even spend time doing that. If I'm looking at just an old kitchen chair, none of these really have something like that. Now some of them might. And since I don't know what kind of chair that is, this is. So I have to just kind of decide what I'm going to do for that wooden chair. And sometimes you might just try adding a different word to get a different look. I went with So I won't spend too much time on that because you can look and look and look and look. So maybe I won't do that. Maybe it's just not necessary for me to try to do this, especially if it's failing like it is. Or I could just add a little bit of curvature to it, just for interest, but that doesn't look good to me. So I would probably, without a good reference of what I'm trying to do. So sometimes that happens. Sometimes I'll spend a whole bunch of time doing something that I think exists when it actually doesn't, and it's just totally wrong. And so you'll probably do something like that from time to time as well. So here's the basics of my chair here. Just a very simple little seat. As I round that, use number 2, and then I go in and insert my edge loops just around. Just kind of get a shape here. And it depends on how important that object is in your scene. And it was kind of wider in the front than it is in the back, or wider in the back than it is in the front. My chair seat right here, and then a couple legs. These look like cigar shapes, so it's just kind of a cigar. So I'm just going to use a cylinder for that. So I'm just going to go up to create polygonal primitive cylinder, insert options box, edit, reset settings, cap division 0, axis divisions. I'm going to say 8. 8 is my favorite. Let's say, and the reason I like 8 is because it creates can create a perfect circle. So I'm going to go into my side view and look at this. I'm going to hide some of the things in my scene. Got my background, got all this other stuff, and got my seat here. So I'm going to move this kind of up, And again, I just want this to be rounded, so I'm going to add an edge in the middle, just quickly. And then, so right now, I took the vertex at the top and I scaled it down a little bit. I lifted it up a little bit. And I took these here at the bottom and lifted it down a little bit. Again, it has, I'll have to add some geometry to pull that down, which is just going to be a simple edge loop in this case. And a simple edge loop up there. And then this edge here in the middle, I just move it down to kind of the center, right, and scale these down. Because I want, basically what I want is a cylinder or a cigar kind of shaped spindle. And then the whole thing, if I scale that up a little bit, I just get this very simple shape. Now, something happened up here. What's going on? My edge isn't that close. See how close the edge is and how sharp that is? This edge isn't that close, and it's kind of throwing off my form. All right. So, if I put that in the middle, something like so, I get this very simple cigar type shape. I'm going to bring my background back, and I want to see the floor. So I need to set my chair up, and it's about, bring in my TV1, and the seat's about the same as this line, so about that line, which is what I have, which is about what I've got. So I'm going to have to scale this leg down a little bit. Now, if I was doing this for something, I'd be measuring and have a human model in this scene and measuring a lot of stuff too. In the beginning, don't typically. Now, here's a nice thing that you can do. You can use. I'm going to use my insert. I'm going to hit my insert key on my keyboard, and I'm going to move my insertion point up to where I want this thing to rotate. I'm going to hit my insert key again, go back to my regular axes, and then I can move from that point. So I have a chair with a leg kind of out at the side, looking at it from the front view or side view. I've kind of rotated that leg out, and I'll kind of position that here, like so. Look at it from a different view. Move that over a little bit. And I'm going to call that my chair leg. 1. And I'll Control D, I'll duplicate that, and move that over like so in my scene. Make sure I actually have it under my chair, which I do not. And then bring it up so that it's sitting on the floor, looks like it's going to be. And they look a little short to me, so scale them down, and there we go. So, all right. Oops. Now, I need some small straight rods here and one there, and I'll finish off the legs. Okay, very good. Now, depending on how much time I have, would I want to put more legs on there or make some fancier legs? I'm going to make a spindle that I'll probably use for the legs and the back. The legs and the back. So I'm going to use kind of a reference for this. I'm going to try to do this in a different little way. So I'm going to put my chair here. I'm going to add my chair geometry to a layer. I'm going to call that chair. Oops, chair geom. I always put geom on there because I usually have already used that name. Those legs look a little short, and the chair looks a little short too. I'll have to adjust that in my scene when I'm looking at it in my shot. And from my shot, I'm going to look at my shot cam and see what it looks like. Okay, it doesn't look as bad as I thought. I'm gonna beef these up a little bit. So I'm just gonna scale them. Notice that they're scaling in place. So I'm gonna scale that up. And I can probably back that off a little bit. All right. And this chair is gonna be moved around a little bit. All right. So I'm gonna hide stuff again. Not my chair, but this. And using this can be really, really helpful. So I'm going to go back to my front view, go back to my quad view, go back to front. And what I want to do is I'm going to look at this little spindle here, and I'm going to try to recreate this best I can. And I'm going to select my image plane, and I'm going to move it. My image plane, I got it selected here, and I'm going to just kind of rotate it a little bit, just to kind of make this spindle straight up and down. I'm just going to try to, I'm going to move it over here in this world. I'm going to try to do just a real quick, and there's other ways that we can do this, which will be a little bit more advanced and faster, but for now I'm going to create a simple cylinder. I'm going to call this chair spindle. And I'm going to go in and make it very, very, very simple. Make the geometry very, very, very simple. And it's 8, like I have, like I've done in the past. I'm going to scale it down 8 edges. I'm going to try to get the widest. Go up here, I guess. Now I'm not going to worry about that round part yet. I'm just going to try to do something where I just add insert edge loops at specific points. Now this has a lot of ins and a lot of outs, and this is the top. I'm going to use my insert edge loop tool. And anytime I see this a little area like this, this has just a lot of kind of geometry in it. Lots of arcs, and which can be kind of hard to model without specific tools. You can use a profile curve for this, which I'm going to try this and I'll demonstrate it another way too. But if I have this little edge, everywhere I have an out, I also have to have an in to hold it. So like for instance, here's an out edge, but then I need to have an in where that change occurs. So if I blocked out, and I'm just going to go back, and if I scale that up a little bit, then I have this nice little curve that I will just go back. And I'm going to go in and add another one. Insert edge loop. Like another one here to go in. And as I do that, I can kind of shrink that. Go back. Scale that up. Now and insert another one. Kind of go back. Kind of getting an out and an in and an out. this back in. So all these kind of like points go from here to an out, back to an in. So I always kind of have to hold that edge. And you can see how it starts to kind of take form, and I can start to add very simple curvatures to things. And just kind of adjust them, like I'm doing here. Just a little bit, just to get shapes and forms of this object. Now I like to kind of, now this is one way you could do something like this. It's not the fastest way, and not always about being fast, but I do want you to kind of get the idea of the understanding of a curve is 3 points: out, a beginning point, and out. Now this needs to have some additional, the more geometry you have, the more of the nicer curve that you will get, and the more control you have over that shape. And so as I kind of adjust these, you can see how the form starts to adjust and follow. So if I wanted to make unique shapes or more a shape of that, maybe my own design, I can do that. So what I would do is I could just go along. I could add edge loops as I want and where I want. I'm not going to put every single one in, but I will. If I want to have a nice straight edge, I won't have any change there, but I have to have something to kind of lock in the transformation that I'm going to make, and usually one below it, so it helps to have one below it so that when I modify, it locks, you can kind of see the shape a little nicer. So when I do that, it holds that form. Then I have one below it that's holding it and kind of saying, okay, now stop doing that. And so I can go in and just kind of form and shape out my little spindle here as much as I can. Oops, I get the whole thing. And sometimes it's not where you think it is. See, that's right there. It made me think it was way down there. So I'm going to lock in. I'm going to lock in a base here, but then expand it here for this form, and then it'll come in. I could put another one in. I'm just going to put another one in here to make it thinner. But then when I round that, or I get that, I get the sense of this smoothing or this roundedness, and then another one to lock in. So this is kind of a slow and gradual type of process, but it does give you a lot of practice on making things round. So I'm almost finished. I'm going to put in a couple more here, maybe right here, and then lock it in right here. So I'm just going to go and finish these off here. So I'm going to go into this. This is the one I want to kind of expand out. Look, another one like so. And then I'm going to put another one in down here. Just kind of a little bit of a, oops, I think I might have done that twice. I'm just going to check. And then just kind of swell that one out. And then at the end, it's just going to be flat. So I've got my, I'm going to just actually, I'm going to go into my front, go in here, frame it in, and just delete the bottom face of that, bottom face, and hit delete. And I just kind of have my spindle here. I'll be smoothing that. And then at the top, I'm going to do something real nice. I'm going to take my face, I'm going to select it, I'm going to delete the face. And what that leaves me with is I have an 8-sided I have 8 edges. So this is a neat thing to do. Let me go back to my front view here. And I'm going to create a sphere, and I'm going to take it up here. I'm going to line it up a little bit. I'm going to frame it in. I'm going to turn it into 8. I'm going to just say 8 and 8 because I want a very little geometry. But what I want is kind of like a sphere ball, right here. So I'm going to say it's about, I'm going to take the faces here, down. Oops. My faces here and down. I'm going to delete them. And I have this nice, what I want to do is take these two objects. Oops, let me go into object mode. Take these two objects and I want to align, I'm going to scale this one way down. Like so. I'm going to move it down here. I'm going to scale it up. I'm going to turn on wireframe on shaded, and I want to line up these two edges, basically the geometry, these points. So what I want, because I've used 8 as my number, this has 8 all the way around, this has 8 all the way around. What do I mean by that? That means we have 8 edges that make up a circle. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you go around, you'll see there's 8. Well, I did the same thing on this cylinder, which means that I can actually connect these two objects in a number of ways. I can create a bridge, and how we do this, no matter how I do it, I have to do what's called combine. I'm going to say these two objects, I have them in place. There's a little bit of a gap here, but I'm going to fill that gap. I'm going to select both objects. So I'm going to call that a spindle sphere. And this, and I'm going to go up to what's called mesh and say combine. And what this is going to do, it's going to create this, make this seem like one. Now there's just one transform node, and there's just one part. Now the components of this, we can connect. So I have this edge here, and there's 8 of them, and I have this edge here, and there's 8 of them. Now I can use what's called the bridge tool. I go up to edit mesh, and I say bridge. I use the options box. What's this going to do is it's going to take this gap and put geometry between the two. And I can choose to have that divided. So if I hit apply, I get this nice piece of geometry in between the two. I also can increase the divisions of that. So if I wanted to add more geometry in there, I can. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is what's called welding. Welding edges or welding vertices. And this is something that I use all the time. I'm going to go into Vertex Mode. And this is a little hard to see. The last thing I just did is a little easier to manipulate and to deal with. And it may be faster for you to just simply, might scale this down, for example, and then just bridge between the two, which would be super fast. Or you can do what's called welding or merging. And so the merge tool is something that I use all the time, and it's like this. It's called merge. It's under edit mesh, merge. I'm going to go to the options box. Actually, hold on a second. Actually, what I'm going to be using is target weld. It's like merging, but they call it something different. I'm going to go to the options box. And the reason I like this better is because what I can do is I can actually continue the fluidness of the geometry by telling it to either go from the middle, when I combine these, I can choose target, which means if I want this one to be connected to that one, it'll move the geometry down to that point. If I want this one to be connected to that one, it'll move that geometry up to that point. Or I can say center and grab them, and it will put them both in the middle, which this happens to be the best option in this case. So I have to make sure I am merging the right vertices to the right vertices. So I'm going to be moving around my objects very nicely. And now I'm looking at this one and this one, the one right above one another. Sometimes it is hard to tell where it is, but I'm just going to go around and I'm just going to target weld these together. Merging is also a term that we use, and it does similar things. You can merge vertices together. Oh, now that's tricky. Now notice, if I did something wrong, I could actually merge to the other side of the geometry, which you don't want to do. Control. And what I want to do is just making sure. And so now I have welded that sphere. Let me go to object mode. So I've welded that sphere onto my spindle. So there's my little spindle there that I can use for my chair. And again, I can go in and I can add more geometry wherever I want to have straighter edges and that sort of stuff. But it just depends on what you're wanting. So if I move this up, I could get sharper, cleaner edges on there. And so you can adjust the geometry however you like to create the spindle that you want. All right, so I needed multiple spindles here. So that's target weld, and it's also target weld and combining. So again, mesh, combine the objects, and then do what's called the target weld, and here it is, target weld. All right, so that gives me just what I'm looking for. That looks a little squishy, so I might go up and grab these and make it more of a sphere, move it down a little bit and adjust it however you see fit. All right, go into object mode and I'm gonna scale it to my scene here. And I'm going to just continue working in that area on this object. I'm going to scale that down, angle it out. So here's another example where I can use hit the insert key and move my insertion point down to the base. Hit the insert key, and then I can rotate that from that point to be more accurate to my chair. So out a little bit, well, maybe not that much. Notice how it's angling out. If I look at that reference, angling out about 90 degrees, maybe 100 and some degrees. And maybe not at this angle, but maybe just slightly in the back like so. And once I get that in place, I might use my control duplicate, might move it over here to like so. And I think it does maybe tip out a little bit and tip this out a little bit. And again, adjusting that. So I've got my spindle here, and I could use that for my other components as well. And the legs, I'm going to use the legs as my spindles in the middle. So I'm just going to repurpose those, duplicate, go up, and I'm going to, basically I'm going to flip that around like that and move it into place. I'm basically just going to be positioning these things here in these areas. Nothing too complex here. I'm going to take that, and I might just take this vertex, and well, I maybe easier for me to say modify, center pivot, and then scale it up a little bit and adjust, make some minor adjustments on its length, and maybe just bring that down because I have that support bar across there. So I may just leave it something like that. Go back to object mode, control duplicate, make maybe 2 or 3 copies, and then make some slight adjustments. I'm going to say insert, maybe make some slight adjustments down at the bottom if I want to curve them. Oops, hit my undo that, hit my insert key, and then just make my modification. So the geometry's there. Now I'm just making mods to how the placement of it and working on those details. And so each one of these I'll put into place and do something like so. Don't see too much. And then I've got a board that will go across there. And I think it has some fancy legs in the front. So I may just use this. May just take this and control duplicate it and just turn this into actually the front legs and turn these into the back legs. So these are less fancy, they're in the back, and this is more fancy. I think it's up in the front. And so I think I will kind of continue to do that. So I'm going to adjust this. So a lot of this is just kind of, now I'm placing things in my scene. I've got the basic forms that I want. I've got to scale that down a little bit. It's a little too big. Let me pull it up. Something like that. Move it over. And put it down. Control duplicate, move it over. You get the idea of kind of what I'm doing here. Once I have that geometry, I am maybe just making placements on it. And sometimes, in this particular case, just need it to be, just want it to look like it is in the scene. So I've got this board to put across the top, which I will do with just a simple cube, and I will call this chair brace or back brace. And I will simply scale it down a little bit, like so. And this isn't going to be too much because I don't have that much there. I don't have a lot of reference for this, so I'm just going to kind of move it in. Use my orthographic views more. And what I'll probably do is make sure all these things are kind of lining up. These guys might be lined up more like so. And this, I'm not going to do too much with it, actually. I'm just going to kind of place it in there. And what I'll probably end up doing is going into Vertex, and I go in and just kind of adjust this, kind of sit in there at an angle like so. This one probably so, like just right in there, because I can't really see it. What I want to do is add an insert edge loop on this, and I'm going to just kind of bow the back of it out a little bit, and so I'm going to take that edge and then just push it out, goes in, and I'll add some geometry on the ends. So I'll just square this up a little bit so we get, actually I need it to hold the shape, but, and then around here. I need some geometry around this, around the bases, and around the top. And that's getting me where I want to go. Now you'll notice that I'm doing a lot of proxy. So I have my proxy on, my object and my proxy. So I remember our geometry is really low poly. Like this is the way it really looks in the real world. The proxy gives us a estimation of what it will look like when it's actually smooth, but it isn't smoothed yet. I haven't actually smoothed this geometry at all. I'm just getting an estimate of it. So all these things that I'm doing will still, like this doesn't look round yet. This doesn't look round yet. I have to do at the end, I have to smooth these things. So if I'm happy with this form, I have to do a mesh modification to smooth it. Now most of the things that we're making are going to be square, but if we want anything to look smooth, we'll have to actually do a modification to it or a process. So in order to do that, and I only do it at the very, very, very end because I don't want to work with real high poly objects. And this chair isn't quite ready for that yet. But for example, if I took this spindle, right now this is the way it would look, all jagged and terrible. But I can go up to mesh and I can say smooth. And when I smooth that, it's going to give me smooth options here. And what it does is it takes those pieces and it starts to divide them into smaller faces. So every one of these faces gets divided. That face gets divided into 4 faces. So if I were to look at these faces, say right in this area, and well, I can't actually, but just imagine in that area, and I turn off the divisions. With 0 divisions, we're back to where we started. But as I increase the divisions, just watch in this area, they start to get smaller and smaller. So those straight lines, there are a lot more straight lines. So the higher the division, that's a division of 2. So it took a face, divided it by 4, and then took all 4 of those faces and divided each one of those by 4. And you can see I get more and more and more geometry, which creates a very beautiful and smooth surface. And that, in the end, is what we would want. But this is obviously crazy hard to work with. Look at all those vertices, and we don't ever want to have to be doing that. What we want is to work with these things in a very, and then my history, I have that here, and I can go back and go and do that. So the final look of my object isn't necessarily going to be, isn't going to look like this. And I have to smooth them. I don't want to smooth too much, otherwise I will actually, it'll be so difficult to work with and render that it could take way too long. So some things I won't need to smooth, but some things I will need to smooth in order to kind of have the look that I want. Like I'm not going to smooth my planks. I want them to be kind of edgy and rough. And things in the background might not need to be smooth, but the things that I'm certainly going to be looking at in my scene, I will want to smooth, and I will want to just give myself enough geometry to see it, to have the form that I want, but not so much that I can't render it out or it takes too long. So that's going to be a decision I have to make by just kind of looking at it and seeing what it looks like when I get lights on it and that, which is going to be the next step. So I have basically the core elements. I got to add a few more pieces to my scene. My chair and all of that sort of stuff is coming along pretty nicely, and I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. I've got my edges where I have beautiful edges. They're going to capture light, and my chair is looking good. And I've got things basically the way that I need them to look, and so I should be pretty happy with it so far. And some key things still need adjusted, but I'm going to continue to kind of build this, and then have everything kind of set. I still have to do my window pane, which is basically just going to be some straight cubes, and I've got the details here. And I hope that's helpful. And There's a lot there to go over and to think about and to practice. So a lot of this now is just kind of making modifications to the geometry that I have, setting things in place. Like I'm going to take this, this chair, and since it's kind of a centerpiece, I do want it to look pretty nice. I need to group it. Okay, I'm going to grab all the pieces, and I need to make a few adjustments. Control G to group. That becomes my chair group. And then it's all contained within this group node, which I can modify and change. Like I can rotate the whole group. I'm going to say modify center pivot, and I'm going to rotate that chair around. And I can scale it up or down if it's a little too big. I think it feels like a giant chair at the moment. But I'm going to go to my shot cam and take a look at my scene. And it's not terrible. I'm going to scale it down. And I'm going to put it kind of in place over here someplace. I look at my image. It's kind of in that space, and I might scale it up just a tweak, just a touch. I'm going to make sure that it's actually touching the ground and touching the floor on my legs. So I can see them sticking through right there. I need to make sure these back ones are also going to be, let's just scale them down a little bit further so they go through just a tiny little bit. There we go. And then I have my chair. These need to go down into my brace. So I need to, or my back, and I need to adjust that a little bit. Use my insertion tool, bring it down, turn it off. Each one of these has to be kind of adjusted, and I'll adjust the tips. Insert. They're upside down, so I'm just going to go back there and put them in. Something like that. Not 100% in love with that, but I go and grab my vertices. I can move them around a little bit. Bring them down. Oops, I don't want to do that. So a lot of times it takes a lot. There's a lot of tweaking that you've got to do to kind of get things the way you want. So that is normal. I'm going to be adjusting and modifying these things quite a bit, actually. And this actually needs to be rotated to be in alignment with that. And so lots of little adjustments to things in your scene. I'm going to hit Control Save and save. So hopefully you can see how all these things now have been building to create this shot. And it's looking pretty good overall. I've got the window, I've got the floors, I've got all of that. This shot here, or this scene. Go to view, camera settings, and here. All right, so my TV, this TV is not in the shot, right? So I need to move it up a little bit more and make some adjustments to that. And it's not quite done. So I've still got a few things to do. I've got an adjustment on my knob. Got to add some knobs down here. A chair. And I've got the basics though. Oh, I need some spindles on the leg of the chair, some supports. But other than that, I've really got the key things there. So it's looking pretty good. I hope that's been helpful, and I hope you've learned a lot from all of this. It takes a lot of practice. There's a lot of tools and techniques that you learn, but hopefully this kind of went over a lot of things that you'll find useful when modeling.